5401 is on the table, and that is a bill by Representative Anastasia Williams. Proudly put it in. Disclaimer, I must say, with much respect, my intent in no way is to injure, insult, harm the Portuguese community in any way, shape, or form. But right is right, wrong is wrong, and injustice cannot continue, and justice shall prevail. This act would delete Portuguese, a person of Portuguese, Brazilian, or other Portuguese culture of origin, regardless of race, from those eligible to be considered as minorities for purpose of awarding public works projects. The MBE, Minority Business Enterprise Program, is based on equalizing discriminatory practices against racial minorities and women. Its purpose is to lift up those who have been considerately shut out from obtaining lucrative state contracts, explicitly minorities and women. Portuguese people identify themselves as white and European, and therefore are not a minority racial group. The participation of Portuguese-owned firms has screwed the percentages of minority participation on state and local government-funded projects. It is time that we got back to the original intent of the MBE before it was amended to include a group of individuals who do not qualify for the MBE, and in turn taken away from those this legislation was initially written to help, support, and protect. It's clear, state statute, federal statute has who the protected classes are, and I just clearly said it. Again, I do not, I'm not doing this to bring harm, but the fact of the matter is, many years ago, more than 3.5 decades ago, then former Senator Metz had drafted legislation, the 10% set aside for minorities, people of color in the state. In order for that bill to have passed, then Majority Senate Leader Carrera had a conversation with Senator Metz with regards to the passage of that 10% set aside for minorities, to include Portuguese in his bill in order for it to pass. In good faith, former Senator Metz agreed in order to be able to represent the minority community with regards to lucrative state project contracts. Unfortunately, that was ill request, went along to get along, and the MBE, WBE, the community of color, in plain English, got screwed once again. As I stated, it's been more than 3.5 decades. The Portuguese, because of the majority leader Carrera, they were awarded millions upon millions of dollars worth of contract. They became very established. They opened business, have businesses to this day. Their families have grown and have prospered. In the meantime, the families and the individuals for whom the legislation was originally for have not gotten a bite at the apple, and still asking for an opportunity. With that 10%, it's less than 0.1% that has ever gotten involved in a contract. So You talk about slavery in the Rhode Island, in the state of Rhode Island. You talk about taking advantage. That continues. Not begrudging the Portuguese community in any way, shape, or form. They have established themselves and their businesses. Kudos to them. It is time to right the wrong. They are still established. They will continue to be. Their families are well-to-do. It is time to do what needs to be done now, because of the fact that most likely those individuals who proved themselves to be worthy to have been receiving those contracts, they will continue to get them, but they should not be getting them based on them being minorities. There is 1,900 ways that this building has skinned a cat for the benefit of the privileged. And this is a perfect example that someone utilized their privilege to take care of their people. Well, I'm saying that I don't have any privilege, but I do have a right, and I am representing my constituency who for far too long have been taken advantage of. And this is one opportunity where it needs to stop, because it's clearly shown that this is not the intent for this bill, and we as a body, talking about united we stand, it's time for us to fix and correct this and do what was rightfully done. Because in addition to this, the governor of this state chose to give waivers to these big companies through this COVID-19 time so that no real minority companies could get any type of monies, no type of work. Shame on the privileged individuals for continuing to believe that they are the superior class and taking advantage of the little people. So with that, I say, if there's any questions from anyone, I will definitely entertain them. Representative Henry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want some clarification on just one aspect. For this particular instance, would Indigenous Brazilian people be underneath this bylaw, or would they sit underneath the Latino Latinx branch?
Say it again, because I didn't hear.
Would Indigenous Brazilian people be included in this? Because there's parts of the Portuguese definition that includes Brazilian. Are they covered in the minority piece if they're indigenous to Brazil?
Are they under the protection of the federal government?
Like, would they be considered underneath the Latino category as opposed to the Portuguese?
No, because they're not under the protective class based on, according to the federal guidelines.
Yeah, no, I think it's great legislation. I just wanted clarity on that particular piece. Thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Just a comment.
Representative Casey.
Madam Chairwoman, I love your passion. And this is an example, I think, of one of those things that, if you remember, Representative Edwards was going through and pulling up old bills that, don't apply, shouldn't apply anymore, and I applaud you for taking this out. My initial question prior to the completion of your testimony was going to be, how long ago did this happen? But you said about 35 years ago?
Yes, probably about 36, 37 years ago.
Okay. I can fully support this bill. I understand, and we actually had, at some point in my tenure, I believe probably in my second or third year, when we were talking about specific utility statements going out in Spanish, and then somebody in the House wanted to add Portuguese, and I think we ended up adding it at that point. So I can understand how this happens. So I am in full support of your legislation. I think it's a good bill. So thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very much. Representative.
Chairwoman Williams, I'd also like to commend you on this legislation. As I represent East Providence, there are a lot of Portuguese people within my community. I don't think that they would consider themselves minorities. I know many of them do not, so I think this is great. And I think it will definitely modernize and bring the bill that Senator Metz originally put in back to fulfilling its intended purpose. So I commend you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have to say again, it's nothing against them. It's what was done because a elected official was looking out for their people, as I am looking out for my people based on the federal regulations and the state regulation that got changed improperly. I don't want to say illegally, but when Senator Metz shared that information with me years ago, he said, I wanted to make sure that we at least would have an opportunity of getting 10% of some of these awards. Unfortunately, more than 10% was going to other, so we never got in at all. So unfortunately, it is what it is, but we definitely need to correct it, and I appreciate your comments. Any other questions? Okay. We have Jose Marcano in support of 5401.
An opportunity of getting
Hello?
10% of...
Jose, please turn your radio, your TV, your,
10%
turn your volume down.
Okay, thank you.
At all, so unfortunately it is.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please proceed. Hello?
Hello?
You can proceed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Anastasia Williams. Thank you for the opportunity. And that was amazing introduction. My name is Jose Marcano, President of Yomal Painting. My company is MBE for the last 10 years. That's correct. I've been affecting to get more jobs in the state of Rhode Island because they're Portuguese. And we look forward to grow my company in the state of Rhode Island if we got more participation in the state job. And Rhode Island is the only state or the union they allow Portuguese to be MBE, only in Rhode Island. We look forward to continue doing more job in the state of Rhode Island and get more participation if we get more participation, increase our participation in our job. And thank you again for the opportunity, and I support you bid. And my name is Jose Marcano, President of Yomal Painting.
Are there any questions for Mr. Marcano? Thank you very much, Jose. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Forward.
Next, we have Luis Torrado from Latino Design and Construction.
Hello, hello.
Hello, you're on, Mr. Torrado.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairwoman Williams and committee. My name is Luis Torrado. I am the chairman of the Rhode Island Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I am also the president of the Latino Design and Construction Association. You are a hard act to follow, Chairman Williams. That was a very passionate delivery. You make us all really proud of you, so thank you. I want to also emphasize that we have nothing against the Portuguese people. I am just an advocate for the Hispanic MBE community. So what effect has the Portuguese MBE registration had on the Hispanic MBEs? Well, we don't have to guess at that. There are statistics on that are very carefully kept by the state. Portuguese MBEs receive twice double the amount of contracts that MBE members, Hispanic members get, and we are a much larger population than they are. Especially during these COVID times,
The Hispanic business community has been devastated, and we can use all the help that we can get. We don't think that this legislation is unreasonable. As you noted, it is the national standard, which was targeted and focused on the disadvantaged minority groups established at the federal level. So we are fully in support of your legislation. We thank you for sponsoring it and being such a passionate advocate for us, and we thank the committee for their attention.
Are there any questions for Mr. Torrado? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Torrado, for your testimony this evening. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
I would like to also put in the record that Angela Costa Simone's Portuguese American Community Council is against 5401. I would also like to put in the record that many councils and reporters from the Portuguese community had contacted me last year, and not as many this year, two in fact, and the same argument as they presented last year was this year, that they make up only 9% of the state's population, so therefore that constitutes them as a minority group in the state of Rhode Island. Unfortunately, I said then, last year, as I said this year, that's not how it's based. Not at all. So with that again, I say it's not against that particular community, but it's about righting the wrong that has been done for over 35 years to a people for whom the legislation was really intended for. I thank you all for listening to me. And that concludes the hearing on 5401.